Hello, and welcome to the presentation on argument and persuasion. What we'll be covering today is what is a persuasive or argumentative essay, types of persuasion in the real world, and some essay components overview of what is in an essay. You likely know the difference between argument and persuasion at this point in your life, whereas argumentative writing relies heavily on logic, such as statistics, expert opinions, and perhaps case reviews, depending on what you're doing. Persuasive writing differs in that it typically involves an emotional slant. In the downloadable format, the methods of persuasion is a video that talks about some concepts. I encourage you to listen to that. Forms of persuasive writing include advertisements, editorials, speeches, propaganda, reviews, blogs, argumentative and persuasive essays. As a reminder, it says click the video to see general information about persuasion. You'll have to be in the regular version of the PowerPoint document instead of in presentation mode, as I am now. So, if you're looking at advertisements, they try to convince you to buy or do something. For example, a Nike advertisement with a woman lifting weights in her Nike shirt or shoes. It can be emotionally appealing to some women who are maybe perhaps thinking about getting fit or thinking about fitness in general. Overall, this woman looks fit in this picture. Nike has something to do with that, right? Editorials can also be used to persuade. Many of the editorials that you might see today are about current issues going on in the world or in the community. For example, there's a golfer magazine that discusses types of gear that you might need to be a successful golfer. The magazine may include famous golfers who use certain gear and are successful at golfing. This type of advertisement or stories may make an emotional appeal to individuals who are thinking about golfing or have already done so, or who love to do it. Another example of an editorial might be an article in a women's magazine about weight loss. There are many examples that I could give. You get the idea. Now let's talk about persuasive speeches. If you think about famous people, such as Martin Luther King Jr., who gave inspiring speeches calling people to action, you're seeing persuasive writing in action. Think about political speeches and the way that they sound, what they're saying. There's so many politicians who use emotional verbiage to persuade voters to vote for them. They might mention the importance of family, friends, or tell us that everyone else is doing it. They can tug at our emotional bone, so to speak, to persuade us to do or act a certain way. Now, propaganda is pretty interesting. It's a form of persuasive writing. Sometimes use pictures to persuade people too. It often uses those pictures to evoke emotion. For example, in this 2016 election poster for Trump, he said his hat says, "Make America Great Again." The colors used were American colors, including red, white, and blue. Whether or not you buy into the message, it still evokes an emotion if you consider the question, is America not already great? So be paying special attention to the propaganda as the messages are intended to attract voters. Another example of propaganda can be seen by looking at posters for Bernie Sanders. If you look closely, you can see signs in the background that say Medicare for all. The message might have a significant impact on those who need or want others to have medical coverage. It might also be a message to those who may not realize that not everyone has medical coverage. Lastly, have a look at the colors in the background. It's very similar to the propaganda that you see behind Trump, the colors of America. The next thing that we want to look at is reviews. Now, reviews are very interesting. They're used all over the place. If you just go to Amazon and look up something, it'll have reviews if it's not brand new. So reviews are very persuasive sometimes. We look for that. One of the Rules of marketing is to incorporate reviews to make a decision about what to buy and what not to buy. Let's talk briefly about blogs. If you look around the internet for certain topics, you'll find blogs. Blogs generally provide commentary and usually combine text, images, and perhaps links to a web page. Blogs usually allow readers to respond to an opinion piece, a lesson, or a general message. It is true that some blogs are informational and not persuasive. If you happen to run across a blog that has the title Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire, you'll find that the blog talks about the hatred of lying to people. It also gives an opinion about what should be done to liars and how they should be treated. If a reader's been lied to before by a partner, he or she might get emotional about that and comment. The writer's trying to persuade the reader to not stay with a partner who lies, or at the very least, is conveying the message that it's not okay to lie. Let's talk about argumentative essays a little bit. Argumentative essays combine the best of all things. Of course, I'd say that because I'm an English teacher, right? It's true, though. These wonderful essays use logic, reason, and emotion to convince readers to join the writer in a certain point of view. Now, before you ever start writing a word on your argumentative or persuasive essay, it's important to understand the structure of the essay. While there are many methods of constructing an essay of this nature, the structure discussed here is common to most essays. Let's briefly address the overall structure of an argumentative or persuasive essay. The first part of the essay will include the lead or the hook. Has to be very, very interesting. So the lead or the hook captures the reader's attention and makes them want to read more. So it's important to make it magnificent. The next part of the argumentative essay is a thesis statement. Thesis statements are very important. And it not only shows the writer's assertion or belief about a topic, but it also sets up the structure for your essay. It actually can serve as points on a simple outline. What you see here is an example thesis statement. It's highlighted, and then the explanation down at the bottom is highlighted to show you which parts are part of this thesis statement, what their labels are. So when you read this, while food waste is inevitable to some degree, the problem could be lessened by reducing production where it is not needed, eating leftovers or donating them to those in need, and recycling food waste for compost. In the thesis statement example, it includes the counter argument or counter position, which was while food waste is inevitable to some degree, the actual position, which is the problem could be lessened, and the three supporting points, which are those steps that could be taken to lessen the problem. Reducing production where it is not needed, eating leftovers or donating them to those in need, and recycling food waste for compost. Next, you can see the construction of the thesis statement. If it's done properly, it's very easy to include supporting arguments in each section of the essay. So if you can imagine your thesis statement being up here and then each topic sentence section. Now, each topic part of the thesis can be many paragraphs, but basically this is showing you that you can have topic sentence 1, 2, and 3, and those can all be those parts of your thesis statement that you saw. So you could actually have the reducing production as one of your points, the eating leftovers as one of your points, and the recycling of food waste as one of your points. So there would be topic 1, topic 2, and topic 3. Now again, this can have very many paragraphs. It just depends on the length of your essay. So please keep that in mind. Before we go to the very last section, I just want to make it clear that it's always good to acknowledge the other side. Think about having a discussion with someone, and when you acknowledge that, hey, I see your point, it lightens their disagreement in a way. So it sort of opens people up to listening to your side. It depends on the topic. Now, there are some topics that people don't budge on, but many times if someone is on the fence in the middle of an issue, you can use the technique of acknowledging their side, which is that counterpoint that you saw in the other section, and you can use that to sort of appeal to them and have them listen to what you have to say. Now, whether or not they come over to your side, that's another story. The next part is supporting arguments. Supporting arguments typically include something called logos, pathos, and ethos. Logos is the logic, pathos is the emotion, and ethos is an appeal to do the right thing. Now, typically that involves someone who's an expert or a trusted representative. For instance, maybe your favorite person in sports is trying to sell certain shoes like Nike. So those are all three used in combination to convince the reader that the thesis is correct. So it shouldn't be any surprise what's next. The conclusions in this type of essay typically include a recap of the essay, a restatement of the thesis, and other components such as a call to action or a plan. Now, in some college level essays, they may just have you wrap it up. In others, you may have to make an entire plan to address whatever issue you've addressed inside of your paper, or they might be a place for you to call people to do something. So if you think in terms of Martin Luther King Jr.'s speech, and he calls people to come together in unity. So thank you for listening to the video. I hope that you found this helpful. This is one in a series of videos, so please watch this one. And then to get more information on things such as thesis statements, there will be other videos coming out soon. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.